what's the deal with Cook, man? Like, what's the deal, right? Only 91 rush attempts for a second-round rookie, given that the running back room was very weak last year for Buffalo. It's not good. Only 21 catches. We expected more across the board from James Cook last year. And second-round running backs bust frequently. It's not a sure thing this guy's ever going to fire. What are you hearing about his development?
You know, for me, he was just an okay running back prospect, and he did fine. I mean, it was a part-time role, and that's a part of the picture too, is that as you said, he didn't take over in any respect the Bills' backfield. They really, I think, went out of their way last year to get a pass-catching running back. There was the J.D. McKissick signing for one day before McKissick sort of reneged and went back to Washington. They showed their hand with that development, and then Cook in the draft. Then trading for Nyheim Hines, who's sort of like quintessentially that kind of player, but Allen doesn't throw the ball to the running backs. That did not really manifest in their offense, and I don't expect it to. So another reason why, like if you see Cook as 40, 50 catches or something like that, then he's a great value where he goes. But I really don't.
Yeah, he had 0 goal line touches last year and only 33 targets, and that's not enough to be fantasy relevant. I mean, he was 6.3 fantasy points per game. That was outside the top 50. And what's interesting about him is that he was creating yards with breakaway runs, right? So he would evade one tackle and then break away. That's what he did that on a number of occasions. He was actually number 1 on Player Profiler in breakaway run rate, 12.1%. That's why his yards per touch was so high. But his juke rate, evaded tackles per touch, and his yards created per touch were both outside the top 20. And whenever you lead the league in breakaway runs, but you're outside the top 20 in yards created per touch, that's damning. In that you're getting all that breakaway credit when the yards per touch and the yards created per touch are being added up, right? But when the yards per touch, you're number 3, and the yards created per touch, you're number 21, that's telling us that you're not creating yards on your own. You're taking advantage of these breakaway run situations. And why are you able to break away so easily? Because Josh Allen is distracting defenses, because the passing game is the focus. When you're trying to play the Bills, you need to stop the passing game, right? Yep. So in a vacuum, whether or not he's ever going to be anything as a runner is very much up in the air. And we know in the context of a Josh Allen offense, he's not going to be a volume receiver. I don't see the upside for a Bills running back or a Bills satellite back in particular. I see the upside of a Bills running back in the red zone with touchdowns. And so however you feel about how explosive these players are at this point in their careers, for that reason, it has to be Damien Harris, because that's the path for a Bills running back to exceed expectations in fantasy is with the touchdown.
Yeah, I'm right with you. The reason I still like drafting Cook is second-year player, second-round pick. They're not going to just ignore him. I mean, I feel like any organization will, the Bills are really good. They're playing with the lead a lot. They'll try to get him to look like he's relevant in their offense.
I don't have much Cook at all for that reason. And I'm fine with it. And I know that he runs a 4.42. He's comparable to some of these more explosive running backs in the league. And I like that. I like that player. But also 5 years ago, he would have been a player that I held on to longer. And I had that hope for an extra year. Think, hey, just like you said, they're invested in this guy. They're gonna let him work through his issues, creating yards on his own. Whereas now, after seeing so many of these players come and go, I'm a little more quick on the hook to just say, no, okay, you're off the stage, right? Vaudevillian Kane, bye-bye.
You're right to mention Hines too, because I thought he was obviously going to be cut, Hines, because just like it was a pretty good dollar amount, didn't need him. And they didn't do that. They restructured him, so he has some importance to them.
Yeah, and he has a very similar athletic profile to James Cook. And like I said, he has had a fantasy relevant season as a one-dimensional satellite back already in his career. James Cook has not done that yet. And this is what we do every year. Every year, we're on to the next thing. we're on to the next thing. And the guy like Damien Harris or the guy like Nyheim Hines that's actually done it before, but has never broken through to a level that's going to inspire any excitement with anybody, even though Damien Harris had like 15-plus touchdowns one season, that's not enough. It's very difficult to envision a world where James Cook breaks through and is like an RB1 top 12 running back in fantasy. That's just a very difficult place for him to achieve that you can envision. And he just didn't do himself any favors last year by not showing us the metrics between the tackles as a runner that it would have been nice to see.
Really, it's a taste thing in terms of practical, how you're drafting when it comes to James Cook versus Kamara or Javonte Williams. You know, you want to shoot for the upside, take the injury risk, the suspension risk. You can do that. Maybe depending on who your RB1 is, like if you have a Pollard or somebody where could be huge. We don't know yet if Dallas will sign somebody to cut into him. Then maybe Cook behind a guy like that makes more sense. Otherwise, you know, play it the other way.
I think you play the other way.
Bijan and then Javonte.
I think you Damien Harris. We've decided. I think we figured it out. The bare knuckle. I don't think you need to remember James Cook's name.
Okay.
How about that?
Okay. Make it easier.
Hey, you like that video? Be sure to subscribe and activate those alerts so you get notified as soon as new videos drop. And be sure to check out playerprofiler.com. We have all the tools for you to dominate every type of fantasy league. We have a draft kit, Dynasty Deluxe, data analysis, DFS Dominator, and don't forget the player rankings to rule them all.